Alright, welcome back to our playthrough of Part 4 of Final Fantasy VI, and where we left off last time, we had just beaten Ultros, and we are left at a crossroads with 3 different scenarios here. And we're going to opt for taking the large group where we left off on the Late River as the first of the 3 scenarios. So we pick up where we left off. We have Terra, Bannon, and Edgar still on the raft. And we're going to continue on down this river here. We only got a couple more fights we have to worry about, and it's the same old enemies we've seen up until the boss fight there, so it's nothing we really have to worry about. Nothing we haven't already seen, but again, it's still stuff you got to be cautious of. If you have any kind of status ailments or low health from the previous fight and you have a chance, this is a good time to go ahead and do it. What I would recommend doing is what I just did here. Use the noise blaster to confuse the enemies, buy yourself some time, then go ahead and heal, use any kind of eye drops or healing ailment status potions, whatever you need to do to get yourself back to full health. As I said, there are a couple fights here, but again, nothing you can't handle. So we're going to go through, we're going to complete these, and we're just kind of showing off the noise blaster here. Now remember, the noise blaster is a nice item to use, and not many people use it because it doesn't do any damage up front. But you got to remember the stuff it does on the back end. The noise blaster tends to bring out any special hidden abilities of the enemies that you sometimes wouldn't normally see unless you confuse them. So as you can see here, this pterodactyl enemy has a fireball attack that you typically don't see unless he's confused. So this is a very good opportunity to show that off and get some big damage, especially if you don't want to worry about doing the weak attacks here. So we're going to go ahead and show up the noise blaster a few more times. And we'll go ahead and keep doing our hit all attacks with the fire and healing with Bannon. So nothing too tricky, nothing too difficult, nothing we haven't already seen. Keep on showing it off, and by the time we finish this next fight, we will be getting off the raft, out of the Late River, and we're going to be continuing upwards and onwards back to Narsh, where we first began the game. So the objective of these 3 scenarios is basically to get all 3 parties back to Narsh, where we began, and then the story will pick up from there, and you'll see how this goes. Each of these 3 scenarios obviously plays out differently, and with this one you can see we've got 3 different party members, and the other 2 are basically running solo with Locke and Sabin, although I will say that as you go through the other scenarios, you will be encountering other characters you've never met before, and they will be able to join your party. So by no means, I know it seems difficult up front running solo, but you will have opportunities to make it a little bit easier with new characters. Alright, so we leave the Late River, we're back on the overworld map, and believe it or not, there's Narsh. We're right back to where we started. We just have one quick fight with a Leafer here, who is essentially a joke right now. One quick shot, boom, gone. And we're now going to move back into Narsh, and let's see if we have an easier time getting back in and navigating around here. Maybe we have a chance to go into some shops and stuff like that. Although, remember, the last time we were here, we were booted out unceremoniously. We were chased out by the guards. So here we are back in Narsh. And yep, we sure did bust in. You didn't know us, though. And get out of here. Bannon gets punched in the face pretty dang hard. Let's see if Edgar has any better luck. Nope. Alright, so this ain't going too well. So clearly, we're not going to be able to get in through the front. I guess we can't really get in at all. But if you think back to when this game first began, remember Locke told us something about a hidden passage? I certainly remember it. And if you haven't remembered it, we're going to show you where it is. This is a good opportunity to go in and refill your life if you need to. That also cures any status ailments. Yeah, head back over here to the left. Remember this hidden cave exit entrance that we had? Locke told us to remember it, right? Well, now's the time when it's going to come in handy. So we're going to head back in here. Let's see if Edgar can fiddle around and find the switch. Sure enough, he can. Alright, and we're going to make our way back to the entrance of Narsh, or that secret exit, I guess, of that man's house. And we will continue from that point. And it's a lot of the same old enemies that we saw way back in the cave the first time. And these enemies, while they weren't too tough to begin with, now they're extremely easy to deal with, especially now that we got 3 characters who are significantly higher leveled than they were the first time we came through here. As you can see, the experience in gold, it's not as high as you'd like it to be, but again, this is based on where it is in the game. You know, it's not going to immediately jump up just because you're more stronger. So it is what it is. We're going to continue on back through Narsh, going through the caves. Now, there are a couple sections here. I think this is one where the enemies will get a little bit tougher. First class, yeah, we haven't seen these ones yet. These are basically reskinned, recolored skins of enemies we've seen before. They hit slightly harder, but again, it's nothing we can't handle. A lot of these should still be one-shots, and if they're not, 2 at most. So here comes Terra and Edgar doing their dirty stuff. Yeah, you can see it's going to take a little bit more than a one-shot, but still, nothing we can't deal with. So we're going to continue on moving through. We're continuing to get stronger. We're getting lots of levels here, which is great, because we're going to need those levels up. Alright, now we come to a section in this cave we haven't seen before. You're going to have a flashing blue light that goes up and down and around throughout this cave here. You do need to follow the path exactly in order to get through unscathed. Basically, the way it works is, when you go through, it's very simple, follow the path. If, for whatever reason, you take a wrong path, that blue flashing light will circle around you, and you have to hit the A button at the exact moment, or else you will enter into a very difficult fight, which could prove very costly for you if you get it wrong, obviously, or if you lose. So just follow the path exactly. You won't have to worry about any of those annoying fights. Continue on through. You have a lot more of the same of the simple enemies here. A lot of the were-rats, first classes, and simple stuff we've already seen a million times. Nothing we can't handle. Just keep on moving through. And there is a section up here. There was a cave we were going to enter within the cave that we didn't get to because the floor fell out beneath us. So we're going to take a chance to go in here now. Now, you remember this section, right? This is where we had Locke and those 2 Moogle encampments that helped us out. Move right on through it. Now, we haven't seen this before. We got some interesting music. Oh, here's the Moogles that helped us. And that right there is another Moogle. All right, we're going to move on through the back end of this cave. Now, check this out. There's a chest. I'm going to say it once. Do not open it. Why? Well, later on in the game, when you have a chance to open that chest again, there will be an extremely useful item that you can attain. You can't get it now. Take my word for it. Don't open it. All right, a few more simplistic enemies here, and if you're paying attention early in the game, you probably know where we're at. We're almost at the exit of this cave, and it'll take us back to that house where Terra woke up from when she recovered from her first encounter with that Esper. So we're basically done here. We're going to walk on out of this cave, I believe. Walk past the save point. You can save if you need to. It's not really necessary, though. So walk out of the cave. Oh, we got one more fight we got stuck with here, and it is a side attack, which is a guaranteed victory. Not that it isn't guaranteed anyway. But we're going to go ahead and take out these 2 enemies, and we're going to move on out of this cave. Pretty simple stuff, gotta say. Here we go, moving out of the cave. Going right across that bridge. Here we go, back into the house, and right back where we started. Nope, you can't rest in the bed. Not worth it, just showing it off. So here's the old man's house, and by the way, his name is Arvis. The secret is unleashed finally. No, you can't play as him. His name is just Arvis. Alright, so basically we find out that Arvis is part of the Returner group, and we are growing our alliance as we speak. So a little bit more backstory here. So Figaro Castle and Narsh have a lot of alliances here, which is great. They're just explaining part of the plan to utilize Terra to help take down the Empire here. And they feel very strongly that she's able to do that. And we continue on with the story, and we're learning a lot about this Esper, and we're going to learn even more as we go on. So that's the first scenario. That was a pretty quick one. Second one? Well, we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at Locke now. So with Locke, remember, he was headed back to South Figaro to stall the Emperor and the Empire from catching up with the rest of the group as they went down the late river. So Locke finds his way back into South Figaro, and we're basically going to see what exactly he's doing here before he gets to Narsh. This is essentially a pit stop now that he's done his duty. He's got to make his way out of here and then get into Narsh. Now you notice he's moving kind of slow here. That's because he doesn't have the sprint shoes on, obviously. They were equipped to either Edgar or Terra last, if I remember. So while it's not necessary, if you really want to, especially if you're a speedrunner, it is recommended that you purchase another set of sprint shoes. I know they're about 1500 GP a piece. Trust me, you're not going to miss it. You have all the stuff that you need at this point in the game. Now here, what you're going to find in this section of this scenario is that there will be a lot of switching clothing. So right here you got a merchant. Yeah, you can steal from him. Usually you're going to find things like plume hats, tonics, maybe a potion. Basically, you need to swap clothing to get through certain areas here, because if you don't, it's basically a dead end. So here we're going to... wearing a birthday suit, funny, haha. So we're going to steal the merchant's clothes. We now look like a merchant. And we're going to leave here. Again, you can buy stuff here if you really want to. Shouldn't really be necessary, though. We're going to go back into this first house here, and there is a secret passageway down the steps that we're going to see. Just going to head right on down. And because this person knows that we are a merchant, he only likes merchants, he's going to let us past. And we're just going to continue on through into the middle portion of South Figaro. And as you're a merchant, one thing you want to do is avoid any encounters with guards. Unless you are actually dressed as a guard, that's a different story. But if you actually encounter a guard, you will enter into a fight with them. And while the fight isn't hard, getting into a fight with them will send you back to the start of South Figaro and could be a big time problem. By the way, we encountered and we stole a plumed hat. We're just going to equip it for free, which is nice. We don't have to worry about buying it now. Nothing we really have to worry about buying here in terms of items or weapons because we got it the first time through. So we've got everything we need for now. Go ahead and leave these shops. And what we're looking for right now is a way to get past those guards. And remember, as I said earlier, if you encounter a guard while you are dressed as either Locke himself or a merchant, you will enter into a fight scenario. And that's clearly not what we want. But here's a green guard. We haven't seen this before. He's an officer. So we're going to fight the officer. We're going to steal his clothes. And then we will be able to get past those other guards that we saw. And he gets down to his birthday suit once again. Do a little switcheroo. Locke is now dressed as a green officer. And we should be able to get out of this fight and move on to the next section of South Figaro. And we'll see how that looks right about now. So now that we have the officer's uniform, we're going to walk back around to where we first were. Very slowly, briskly, walking, plodding, crawling, whatever you want to say. Back down to the bottom of South Figaro. And here's where it's going to get interesting and nice. We're going to walk over to the midsection around this water thingamabob. And we can relieve this guard of his duties. He sees that we're an officer, he respects us, he goes away. And we're going to walk down this way. And a few things we could possibly do here. One thing we're definitely going to do is buy another set of sprint shoes. Now again, this is optional. You don't have to do this. I just hate walking around when I could be running around. It's just something I am used to doing when I'm playing this game. So I'm equipping the sprint shoes. Anything else you want to buy, feel free. Again, I don't really think it's necessary. So sprint shoes are equipped. You'll notice that it is not possible to leave. And here you're going to notice that we are picking up some of the items that we neglected to get the first time we were in Figaro. So among other things, soft, antidote, eye drops. So some nice things to have and very useful considering you can get them for free. And it saves you a lot of gil and gold when you don't have to worry about buying it legitimately. So anytime you get a chance to search around in a town or an area or a place like this, do it. You never know what you could possibly find in random junk. So that was not too bad of a deal there. All right, and basically we're just walking around, and what we really need to be doing is going back, and we'll show you where exactly we're going. Right about here, we're just kind of fooling around and looking for random stuff that we may have missed in the past. And here, we're going all the way back. So the whole point of getting the officer's uniform was to clear that person out. All right, now, you're going to notice that that kid is blocking the steps, and still, he only gets out of the way for merchants. So, what we have to do is find another merchant and switch back into merchant clothing. All right, and where do we find one? Well, it wouldn't be there. It would be back in the shops where you find the swords and the defensive stuff, right? So he's not going to let us pass unless we are dressed up as a merchant. No point in going back here. So we're going to go back into the weaponry shops. We're going to find a merchant sitting there. Not over here, of course, but it's going to be way over this way. Going around. We're going to find that merchant. He's going to be right... Well, you thought he was there, right? We're going to go on out. And truth be told, I honestly forgot where this merchant was, so that's why we're wasting a whole bunch of time walking around here trying to find this merchant. I know I need to look for one, I clearly don't remember where he is. So basically, process of elimination. We will find him eventually, and I believe this is the last possible spot we could have looked back in the cafe area here. So where is this merchant at? Not here. Let's go downstairs. There he is right there. Aha. So remember this place where we saw him taking cider to the old man? Well, now we're going to take that job away from him. So we're going to steal this merchant's clothes, and we will deliver cider to the old man. And what's going to happen is the old man is going to tell us something very useful. So let's see what he does here. We're going to steal his clothing. Another plumed hat. That's actually good for quite a bit of GP at this point in the game. So we will steal it. We will sell it eventually. Gonna get out of here. Love how it says they're in their birthday suit. And we are done with this fight. Took the old man's cider. And we're gonna leave here. Gonna go all the way back up, and we're gonna go back to the kid that was blocking the stairwell. And he should let us by now that we are dressed up as a merchant. And we're gonna go to the old man. We're gonna deliver him some cider, and we're gonna see what he's got to say to us. So we're basically running a whole lot of odd ends and jobs here within the town of Imperial Run, South Figaro. Alright, we are a merchant. We are now passing through. Going back up, and the old man is around this way. Glug, glug, glug. Aha, there's a secret passage to the old man's house. So this man's house that we're talking about is the one that had a secret passage downstairs. Aha. Now right there, the password is courage, in case you didn't know. It's always the same every playthrough. It's always courage. So we're going to take this secret passage underneath, underground, under the river, under the lake, whatever you want to call it, and we're going to end up at this old man's house. And just in case you didn't find anything here the first time, or you didn't grab it all initially, go ahead and grab it now. There is an elixir in the clock. Go ahead and grab it. That's always a key thing to do. Go around the back, go in through the front. And now we're going to go up the steps. And you remember the first time we came through here. We're going to go in that first door. And there will be that secret passage down the stairs behind the bookcase and the bed. So we're going to walk on down to the same place we saw the last time. And we're given the option to change the clothes. Honestly, it does not make much of a difference here. I mean, maybe a slight difference in the cutscene we're about to see, but that's about it. So we're going to keep this one just because there's some funny dialogue here. So we look on through the people, and ooh. Now, if you think back to one of the original cutscenes that we saw way back when Terra passed out way back in the Narsh Cave, you remember this lady possibly. So who is she? She was part of the Empire. Now she's being labeled as a traitor. Well, that would be Celeste, or General Celeste, former general. So it looks like she's been branded as a traitor. She is no longer part of the Empire. And since we've been given the chance to name her, that must mean that we're going to be able to control her pretty soon. And yes, clearly we will. And as you're going to find out, Celeste is a very capable and versatile fighter, and not only that, but a very, very good magic user as well, whenever the time comes to actually use the magic. So it looks like Celeste has been knocked unconscious, and for the time being, nothing we can do about it. And now Locke is hiding up on the ceiling, and now he's going to jump on back down. And we're going to go in there, we're going to free Celeste from her chains. Yeah, let's wait a few minutes and just let her hang and rot. No, we're going to bust her free. And yeah, I always thought that dialogue was funny. She thinks he's a merchant. Nope, not anymore. Alright, so the secret's been revealed. Locke is going to do what he can to save and secure her and get her out of there safe and sound. Yep, Celeste is walking kind of slow for a 16-bit sprite anyway. And we're just going to go on, and we're going to get out of here and try to get out of this town of South Figaro and onward and upward up to Narsh. But before we do that, Celeste tells us something here. Something important on him. Well, what could it be? There's a clock key. Ooh. Took the clock key. Now this is interesting. You remember a little ways back, we saw there were a couple clocks in this upcoming room. One of them wound up and one of them did not. Well, clearly we're going to have to wind one of those clocks, and let's see what happens here. You're going to save points, save if you want to, heal if you want to. Really no need to, but take a look at this. Celeste has a cure spell. She also has an ice spell, so clearly that indicates that Celeste is the antithesis of Terra. Terra is a fire user, Celeste is an ice user. Now that begs the question, do we have any lightning or bolt users? Well, we're going to find out a little bit later, I suppose. So that one clock is ticking, this one is not ticking, so I guess we're going to use the clock key on it. Alright, that caused the shelf to move. There's a hidden door behind it. And here we go. We're now moving into a hidden section full of very tough enemies that we've never encountered before. Now, bear in mind, there are some very, very useful weapons, armor, and items, and even relics that we're going to run across in this room here. The problem is that some of them are very difficult to find without a lot of trial and error pushing up against the walls and tunnels. So, because of that, I will tell you right now, there is one very valuable item that I did end up skipping over. And really, it was for a couple reasons. Number one, I haven't done a full run through of this game in about 10 years. And number two, even though it is there, you got to remember that this is a very difficult section if you don't have enough items and magic points. So even though I'm not going to pick it up, you don't need to feel too bad about it because there will be more chances to get them later. Now here we picked up the iron armor. Iron armor is the strongest armor we've run across so far. We're going to elect to give it to Celeste because Celeste doesn't have any armor clearly, although we could give it to Locke. I guess it's really up to you. Now we can't go through that wall, so we're going to have to see if we can walk around. And in the process, as I said, we're going to come across quite a few difficult enemies that we haven't seen before. So check that out. We're dealing 112 damage here, and still the enemies aren't going down. So again, they're getting very tough. Celeste is very good with ice magic, so we're going to go ahead and use it often when we can. These vector pups are very simple and foolish and cowardish, so you only have to drop one of them, and then the other one will just run away. Very good stuff in here. The Regal Cutlass, that's a nice sword, and the Heavy Shield, so you can give all of these to Celeste if you wish. I think we're going to do that here. So we will give everything to her, and now she's decently equipped for the trials coming up ahead. Nothing really here, so we're going to go ahead and back out to where we could have previously gone. Now I mentioned that there was one item relic that we are intentionally skipping over because either we forgot about it or it was just too difficult to really worry about. And that would be the ribbon relic that we are skipping. So the ribbon, as you're going to learn a little bit later, is one of the best relics in the entire game, and it basically makes it so that no status ailments will ever take effect on you. It is easily one of the most sought after relics and best ones in the game, so it's kind of disappointing that I forgot about it, but hey, it is what it is. It's early on in the game, and it's not going to hurt us that badly. Like I said, there'll be plenty more opportunities to get plenty more ribbons, so don't worry about it. Just a few more fights we got to get through here with Vector Pups. So as I said earlier, you just have to take out one of them and the rest of them will run away. So really here, you're just going to focus on taking enemies out, getting lots of gold, lots of experience. You'll get lots of opportunities to level your characters up here. And we'll just keep on moving through, fighting a few more vectors. Take one down, watch the other flee. Pretty easy stuff. So once we get out of here, as I said, we're going to be making our way up and through Narsh, and we're going to be going back through a certain cave that you may recall. We're going to be backtracking through the cave. We'll have one little boss fight to end the scenario, and then we'll be moving on to our final scenario with Sabin here. So I'd say about probably another minute or two worth of fighting enemies in these small corridors here, and then we'll be on our way to the tougher sections of this scenario. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this dogfight, and we're just basically at this point backtracking and looking for another section we haven't seen yet. There's one chest with hopefully something good in there. Slew of commanders, there's a couple ways you can fight them. You can opt to just take them out with ice, which is what I'm doing here, or just flat out attack them. Now, if you're going to go ahead and use Celeste's magic, I would suggest just using ice on one individual person at a time instead of spreading the attack out. Because if you spread it out, it's not going to really kill anybody. The attack isn't quite strong enough. So just focus on one person at a time and then kind of go from there. The enemies aren't really that difficult in the first place, so you don't really have to worry too much. Although some of these attacks can get kind of troublesome here. So that takes care of this battle. Now let's see what's in this chest right here. After we go ahead and do a little bit of a health refill, burn some of our tonics. We get earrings. Now, this is a nice relic that we haven't seen before. The earrings will basically make your magic stronger. And if you have 2 of them, they will even, if you can believe this, double the magic that you would normally get. So that's a very useful relic to have. Definitely recommend picking those up and using them. Now, between the 2 characters that we have, Celeste and Locke, obviously Locke is not able to use magic, at least not yet in the game. Celeste clearly can, so we're going to put the earrings on her, and that ice attack will see much more use now. So we're going to go ahead and see how that works in a little bit, not too long. And this is just about it. We're going to go ahead and get out of this scenario here, out of this town of South Figaro, and we're going to continue onward and upward to the town of Narsh, where we originally started. Let's go up the steps, and we're about to have a little heart-to-heart right here. Why are we helping you out? Well, it's because you remind me of someone. Yeah, gee, I wonder who that someone could be. Like, we don't know. And just like that, we are now out of South Figaro, and we are going to head on back. Now, if you remember, that was the town, or not really the town, but the house right before we went into Mount Colts. You could go back into Mount Colts if you want to, but that's not the point of this scenario, and you're just putting yourself through needless hardship doing that. So we're going to go ahead and kill off this Rhinotaur really quick, and then we're going to head back left through that cave into the desert area, essentially, when that leads back up to Narsh. But first, we got to get out of here, get out of this battle, and we're going to head over to that cave that had that pond, if you remember, with that turtle. It's going way back quite a bit here. So we get through this battle here. Locke gets stronger and stronger. Gonna keep on heading left. Say goodbye to that house with Duncan and Mount Colts there. And here we go into the entrance of this cave. A few things here we remember. There were quite a few chests that we ran across. A number of interesting enemies. None of them really that difficult. We are going to hear some sounds as we go through this cave here. A lot of these enemies, as I said, a lot of crustaceans, trilobiters, and crabs. Nothing too difficult. Just make sure you take them out quick, or they could be a little bit troublesome with the damage they cause. Now, we will be coming up on a boss fight here pretty soon, once we get to the rear entrance of this cave, where we initially exited the town, or not the town, but the castle. So we're going to get pretty close to that. Interesting boss fight going to come up, where Celeste's unique abilities and powers will come into play, and we'll see how that works. So we're going to have a lot of the same here, a lot of these fights with the crabs, crustaceans, and sand rays of the inter-cave variety. So it's going to be a little bit boring until we get to the end of this cave, but then it will pick up a little bit. Wait till you see this boss and how we take care of it and take it down. So once again, Celeste is very much a copy of Terra, with the only major exception being that she is an ice user instead of a fire user. And you're probably wondering, how did Celeste come into being of these magical powers? Is she an Esper too, or does she have powers of an Esper, or something of that nature? You know, we don't know. We don't know how Terra even got her powers. We were suspecting that maybe she was an Esper, or half, whatever. Alright, now there's more sounds here going on. Now we get to the exit of this cave where we first found it. Still can't really do much with that pond, although it does give us water, so we'll probably take a drink out of it. We're going to have a few tougher enemies here. A gold bear. Just go ahead and take him down. Take him down, take him down. And then we're going to finally see what this boss is. So let's see what we got. Yeah, definitely take advantage of this spring here. Fill your health and MP back up. Boom, that's what we do. Then we go to the exit. Whoa, and what is happening here? Earthquake? Something's coming out of the wall. What is it? Well, let's see. That would be tunnel armor. Yep, that's right, Celeste. Tunnel armor. Now, what exactly is it? It is a big, ugly boss machine that can essentially run you over, and it has a drill attack that can basically drill right through you. Now, Celeste is talking about this runic blade that she has, which can absorb, like you just saw right there, it can absorb any kind of magic attacks that the tunnel armor does. So, this is huge. The tunnel armor loves to use magic, and when you use that runic blade, it absorbs any magic attacks that it may toss out. And that gives Locke plenty of time to take it down with physical attacks. If you forget to use the runic blade, as you can see, the tunnel armor does very significant damage with its magic attacks. Standing in the back row is not going to matter, because magic attacks hit for the same amount of damage regardless of what row you're standing in. So, the whole point of this battle is getting you used to using Celeste's runic blade. You're going to have to get used to that very quickly in the early going, or you're not going to last very long. So you can see, It's just a matter of making sure that you continually use that blade, buying time for Locke to just take him down, take him down, take him down. You can try stealing if you want to. There's really nothing of note, nothing of interest here. You might get some gold, you might get a couple weaker items, but it's not like he has a mega elixir or anything crazy like that. So do what you want. The whole point of this battle is to take down the tunnel armor as quick as you can while Celeste is absorbing the magic attacks. And there we go, right on cue. That's going to take him on down. Go ahead and burn, burn, burn. We're going to complete this cave burn walkthrough. Did we get anything good? Ooh, 1 elixir. We can always take more elixirs here. And that'll just about do it. We sure are in the clear. Out of the cave we go, and we are done with that scenario. Only 1 left to go, and that would be Sabin, the man who got left behind from the raft on the late river. But we're going to save that for the next part because we're out of time right now. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in Part 5 of Final Fantasy VI.